The shy voice of the 12-year-old girl echoed through the grand lobby of the Continental Hotel, cutting through elegant conversations as she asked, "May I play for food?" The crowd turned toward Amelia Washington, a small black girl with hopeful eyes fixed on the Steinway piano beneath glittering chandeliers, her worn clothes and old backpack starkly contrasting with the luxury around her. Whispers spread. How did she get in? Where's security? As laughter rippled through the city's wealthiest elite, gathered ironically for a charity gala meant to support underprivileged youth. Amelia had been sleeping in shelters for a week, and when she heard about the event, something pushed her to enter. Victoria Sterling, the wealthy and self-satisfied organizer, approached with a smile dripping condescension, suggesting she go to McDonald's instead, but Amelia, clutching her backpack tightly, replied with unexpected firmness. Just one song in exchange for a plate of food. The crowd scoffed, mocking the idea that she could play, but Amelia held her dignity like armor, her fingers unconsciously moving as if over invisible keys, a habit born from hardship. Dr. Robert Chun, a renowned pianist, watched from the back, struck by the reverence in the girl's eyes, recognizing a deep familiarity with the instrument. Unknown to all, Amelia had once lived in a home where music was as vital as breathing, taught by her grandmother, a gifted pianist denied recognition because of her race, until her death left Amelia in foster care with only her talent as inheritance. Dr. Chun suggested giving her a chance, but Victoria scoffed cruelly, declaring a humiliating bargain. Amelia could play one chosen song, and if she managed to perform decently, she would receive a full dinner, but if she failed, she must leave immediately and never return. Guests laughed approvingly at the spectacle, though a few whispered unease. Amelia stood silent, eyes fixed on the piano, hearing her grandmother's gentle voice reminding her that music never lies and knows no prejudice. Gathering her strength, Amelia answered firmly, "I accept," her quiet courage stunning Dr. Chun, who sensed he was about to witness something extraordinary. Something about Amelia made Dr. Chun's instincts sharpen, and Victoria, eager to set the stage for her humiliation, clapped her hands and asked James Morrison, a mediocre pianist, to suggest a piece. With a sly grin, he chose Beethoven's For Elise, a song simple in reputation yet treacherous to play with true precision, the perfect trap for failure. The crowd laughed, convinced Amelia would falter, while Victoria applauded the cruel choice, framing it as impossible to excuse. But as Amelia stepped toward the Steinway, her quiet determination unsettled some guests, for no child so young should carry such dignity in the face of ridicule. She adjusted the bench with practiced ease, her posture perfect, her hands hovering in the classical position that betrayed years of training. Dr. Chun shivered. This was no beginner. Victoria sneered, mocking her movements, but Amelia's memory carried her elsewhere, to long afternoons beside her grandmother Betty, a brilliant pianist barred from conservatories by prejudice, who had taught her that music was a language of the soul. Those lessons had shaped Amelia's fingers, her ear, her heart, and even in foster care, she played on invisible pianos when no instrument was near. "We're waiting," Victoria taunted, tapping her manicured fingers, but Amelia only breathed deeply and placed her hands on the keys. The first note rang out, pure and crystalline, commanding silence where laughter had been, its precision and resonance making Dr. Chun's heart leap. It was not the clumsy strike of a child, but the assured voice of an artist. As she unfolded the melody, every phrase carried technical mastery and emotional depth, the silences as profound as the notes themselves. Conversations died, glasses froze midair. Even waiters stood still as her music filled the hall with beauty. Victoria's stomach tightened as her plan unraveled, the spectacle she had designed for mockery turning into something transcendent. Dr. Chun, spellbound, knew with absolute certainty that he was witnessing a prodigy, her arpeggios flowing like water, her pedal work flawless, every note deliberate, mature, and alive. The audience sat mesmerized, wondering who this girl truly was and what hidden truth her music carried, while Victoria, desperate to reassert her control, muttered bitterly that she must have memorized the piece from YouTube, her voice thin against the tide of awe sweeping the room. Victoria's weak protests about kids copying from the internet quickly dissolved against the undeniable truth of Amelia's performance. For what she created was not imitation but interpretation, a living story told through each note. Her grandmother Betty's teachings flowed through her, the philosophy that music had no color, no poverty, no limits, only truth, and Amelia carried it all with her as she reached the climax of For Elise, her hands dancing with the confidence of thousands of hours of unseen practice. To Dr. Chun, it was a revelation, the depth of her phrasing, the rise and fall of her dynamics, the delicacy of her final return to pianissimo, all pointing not to raw talent, but to mastery, the kind that takes decades to cultivate. As she struck the last delicate chords and let them fade into the absolute silence of the hall, the little girl who had asked to play for food was gone, replaced by an artist who had claimed her place in the world through music. Dr. Chun rose first, clapping with reverence, and soon the entire hotel erupted in applause, shaking the chandeliers with admiration that Victoria could neither stop nor redirect. Panic washed over her as she realized the humiliation she had orchestrated had instead unmasked her own prejudice, forcing the guests to wonder what else they had been wrong about. Amelia sat quietly, letting the applause fall over her like long-awaited rain, not arrogant, but deeply aware of the power she now held. When Dr. Chun approached and asked gently where she had studied, expecting the name of a master or a conservatory, Amelia looked him straight in the eyes and said, "My grandmother taught me. She said music was the one thing no one could take away from me." The simple answer struck him like thunder, shattering every assumption about privilege and greatness, for in that moment a 12-year-old child had redefined his understanding of what true genius meant. While the hall still echoed with reluctant admiration, Amelia knew she had crossed a line and could no longer pretend to be just a lost child begging for food, for her music had revealed too much and promised even more. With all eyes on her and expectations hanging heavy like thick perfume, she had to decide how far she was willing to take the revelation and whether she was ready to show these privileged people what a so-called worthless child could do when music spoke through her soul with the force of generations of denied dreams. Dr. Chun approached the piano with careful steps, as though nearing something sacred, and with a trembling voice asked her full name. "Amelia Washington," she replied calmly, striking him like lightning. Shocked, he whispered Betty Washington's name, and when Amelia nodded, he covered his face, overwhelmed by the truth that she was the granddaughter of one of the greatest pianists America had ever produced, but who was barred from conservatories and stages because of her color, leaving behind a legacy as a legendary teacher who shaped countless musicians. The crowd murmured as recognition spread, while Victoria grew defensive, dismissing the story and pointing out Amelia's supposed homelessness. But Amelia rose from the piano bench with unshakable dignity that silenced the room, declaring that Miss Sterling was right about one thing. She should not have been at this event. She should have been preparing for her recital at Carnegie Hall. As jaws dropped, she revealed that she was the youngest pianist ever accepted into Juilliard's Young Artists program and the reigning national champion under 15. The reason she was there, she explained, was not because she needed money or food, but because she was collaborating with PBS on a documentary about prejudice and access to the arts, attending charity events in disguise to capture how the privileged treated those they considered beneath them. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Amelia confirmed hidden cameras had documented every word and gesture, and when Victoria cried that it was illegal, Dr. Chun coldly reminded her that everyone had signed release forms printed on their tickets, though no one had bothered to read the fine print. Panic spread as guests scrambled to check their tickets, while Amelia calmly explained that the first part of the documentary would expose how talent is ignored when it doesn't fit the privileged mold, and the second would reveal the hypocrisy of those who claimed to defend the arts, but crumbled when true genius came from unexpected places, leaving Victoria and the others trapped by their own actions and words. Dr. Chun approached Amelia with deep respect and asked what she intended to do with the recording, to which she calmly explained that the documentary would air nationally next month and that she had also created a YouTube channel where shorter versions of these social experiments were posted. with her latest video from a Boston event already reaching 2.5 million views, by exposing those who pretended to be virtuous while practicing the very prejudices they condemned.